Now we'll go to our friend Khalid Boudlli from Morocco. How are you, Khalid? Can you unmute yourself, please?
Thank you very much. Thanks
Khalid,
again.
Thank you.
Okay.
From your point of view, your experience, what are the main challenges of implementing the global compact for migration, especially in the African continent? I know that you are work already on immigration in Morocco, but as an expert in this field, what's the main challenges that we are facing?
Okay, thank you very much, moderator, and I have to thank Ms. Christina for the wonderful presentation, very valuable, full of information, and gives us a general picture of the real thematic to go forward. But from migration point of view, or from migrant point of view, when we are in the field, not in the offices, but when you talk to migrants from different routes, they have different theories, different stories, and we try to explain to them about the global compact and its objectives, about the African migration observatory that has been created here by the African Union in Morocco, and the implementation of its agenda, and the agenda of the African Union 2063. But they always ask for what is the positive steps. I mean, we understand that things are in a way, the implication of the AU, the implication of the UN, the IOM, the implication of all these European services, but we don't see real action plans. And even if there is an action plan, it will touch only or target only few, as we call it, the very well connected, that they benefited from these programs. But let's talk about governments highlighting a series of progressive measures undertaken since the adoption of this GCM in 2018 to implement its 23 objectives designed to manage all the aspects of migration. Well, it's easy to say, but not easy to implement. I mean, you get to be on the field. I mean, we see complexes left and right. We know that Africa is designed, now the immigration are going from south to north, and are designed on three regions. We'll take the western regions of Africa, western north. We have seen activities from Algeria to Tunisia, Algeria to Morocco. Then we have the central, it touch base on roads, central roads, as we say, that touch base on Tunisia in part of Libya. Then the east side, the east side will go half of Libya, the east side, then Egypt. So this is the routing. But for the ranges, that what they think, the African migrant, they think that this is only to create some kind of data. I know their objectives are ranged from a visa waiver for intra-Africa travel in proposed continental passport to joint border monitoring system, national policies on migration in diaspora, and task force on trafficking, all good. But they knew that these initiatives are just to create some kind of big data to try to collect as much information about migration and et cetera, and that makes them comfortable. So our objective here is, what's the way forward? And I know in some countries, funds, for example, has been set, as Ms. Christina says, has been set up to support trafficking victims, and specialized agencies have been established to investigate. Let's say in Egypt, we have seen that. In Morocco, Algeria and Tunisia detect and prosecute many offenders during during, you know, another recurrent development was the growing uptake of technology by member states in introducing e-passport, as I said. So they know exactly the real objective. It's not to combat migration. It's to just create data and collect as much information as they can. So that's our you know, our investigation that we have in the field from the south of Morocco always, and we went to North Mauritania. We meet some people, and they know. I mean, we try to introduce what's the African initiatives, what's the IOM initiatives. But let's talk about the way forward, and that's what concerns them more. And they know that more legislatives are more things are getting tied up, so they don't have that enough freedom. So several additional steps African members, member governments can take or has taken the intensively efforts toward the implementing the GCM, starting with making migration part of the national development plan and effort to reduce the root cause for cross-border movements such as poverty, and review migrants' role in the national development. They urge governments to sign bilateral agreements that support work permit, social security entitlements, a continental-wide skills accreditation, harmonized remittance market, and diaspora investments. And in all this, let's see some of the key AUC, which is the African Union Commission in IOM initiatives that seeks to achieve the goal of enhanced migrants governance and the continent include the Joint Labor Migration Program, the Protocol on Free Movement of Person, and the African Union Horn or African Initiative on Human Trafficking and Smuggling of Migration. In 2017, the UN Conference on Trade and Development report that there were about 41 million international migrants moving within, from, or to Africa, where 5 million were immigrants from the rest of the world, 17 million were residing outside the continent, and 19 million found to be residing within the continent. So we don't have only that immigration, which is Africa, Europe. So we have our own immigration within the continent, and 80% of African thinking about migration have no interest in living outside the continent. So this gives us a different theory, different scenario. That's what we hear from the international institutes or agencies. But that brings us again to this building data capacity in Africa. And that's what makes migrants afraid. Not afraid, but more restricted. They have a lot of restriction in their way. So they will say, well, there is a free movement, which is as LECA, free movement, free person and materials between countries in Africa. And now you oblige us to give informations and to be controlled just from going from one city to the other, one government to the other. And so that's why countries in Africa have recognized that states have recognized that there is an urgent need to improve data and migration. And that's one of the 23 objectives. For instance, the African Union Action Plan for the period of 2018-2027 recognize that migration data is a key to mainstreaming migration into policy in the planning frameworks and developments initiatives, and essential for development effective evidence-based on migration policies. So there is a contradictory between the migrants and the African Union and member states, that international bodies. So everybody's trying to enforce that law, but in their perspective, but not in the interest of the migrant itself. So the African Union noted that many countries lack the capacity to collect high quality data. Now we go back to the same thing. This is the African Union. Is the from sex, for example, ages, etc. So, but in December 2018, the African Union released an assessment of the capacity building needs of the African Union member states and RECs manage migration for the evaluation based on informations collected from the 39 African countries in the 3 RECs as noted. In general, member state lack migration data that is required to make informed. That will bring us to a policy choice. What are our choices? I mean, what can we do? But in recent years, the migration crisis in the Mediterranean has sadly become the poster child for African migration. The desperation that characterizes migration across the Mediterranean has reinforced the percentage that African migrants is a south to north movement with African migrants taking extreme measures, often at the risk of their lives and towards the promised land, which is Europe. Let me quote a warning of, I assist in 2018 UN meeting here in Rabat as I was part of the standing committee that we were preparing for this event. But I quoted His Excellency, the Minister of Foreign Affairs, the Moroccan Minister of Foreign Affairs, when he said the need to be careful not to fall into the pitfalls of threatening migration exclusively as a security policy issues. That brings us back to exactly a very, very important, and that's the migration's concerns. And then he added that, then he called, policymakers are in alignment with the 23 GCM objectives. Migration is not a crisis, but it's structural, lasting phenomenon. The pandemic will end, crisis will end, wars will end, but migration will remain. This is why migration governance does not and should not respond to emergency management, nor can it be externalized or outsourced. It is a shared responsibilities between all countries, international entities. And that will bring us back to, let's give you one example from Morocco, for example. The situation in Morocco in relation to the objectives of the global compact. We have seen migratory policies often in Morocco are in harmony with the global objectives of the encouraging research in knowledge on migration in Morocco. Morocco becomes the first country in the continent to give a resident permit, social security, access of healthcare. And we have over 200 documented migrants from sub-Sahel and the rest of Africa. And this is a huge step for a country with no resources. We have encouraging, for example, strengthening the capacity of public authorities, including border security in police and migration issues. And now the first time we have immigration office. We never had it before. So last 2 or 3 years, we start having an immigration department, immigration office, free access to migrants residing in Morocco or transiting in Morocco to ask for special documents, either to get document or to have healthcare access or social security access. The adoption of the law on trafficking in August 2006, which is good, and its implementation, the objective 3 of GCM, the facilitating the integration of migrants by giving them cases access to basic services, scholarship, taking care of kids, free shelter, free housing, the implementation also of acting relating to the fight against discrimination, racism, and intolerance, the objective number 17. So Morocco are going, sometimes what we feel here in Morocco, that politics sometimes influence the good work of the good of special agencies or foreign agencies that really works here. Sometimes politics really play a big role. And let me be more clear and give you a very solid example. A few months ago, France, and I'm sure that Miss Christina will agree with me on that. Christina has forced Morocco, Tunisia, Algeria, and said, well, I'm not going to give you any visas. Then the three countries says, why are you not going to give us 3 visas? Because they were over, I don't know, each country have 1,000 or 2,000 deported nationals back. They have to go back to their respective countries, Morocco, Tunisia, and Algeria. But these governments, they say to France, well, listen, that's good. I mean, we're ready to have them, but there is procedures to follow. I mean, we're not talking about criminals and all that. This is just deportees. Well, they said, well, we need to show proof that whatever you proclaim that they are our nationals, they are really our nationals. Show us proof and have the embassies contact them. So you see, now we start having that conflict between Europe and between the North African countries, and always the North Africans are to blame. Because why? The Europeans, they don't want to follow the rules of law and procedures of the 3 countries. Now they are subject to producing numbers of visas given for students, medical care, etc., etc. I'm just giving you one example that always politics plays big negative instead of being positive. Politicians, they are more negatives than positives to really solve this problem. That will bring us again to the cases in Libya. 3 main routes, as I said earlier, brings refugees in migration to Europe. The Western Mediterranean road, usually via Morocco, Algeria to Spain. The Central Mediterranean road, usually via Libya, part of Tunisia to Italy, and the rest to Turkey and Greece. But Libya by far is the preferred jumping off point, and refugees and migrants from Africa hoping to reach Europe. Why? Instability. The instability is the haven ground for criminals, for smugglers, and you can, for international criminals, smuggling all kind of people for all different purposes. And we have seen the fruits that through Libya, some Nigerians, they went to Europe and they become worse than the mafia itself, and they are residing now in the south of Italy, and they work with bad people in Europe. They have, instead of bringing people that they really want to work, high working quality people, they bring criminals from Africa so they can join venture through Libya, unfortunately, and that happens right after the incident, after 2011 and 2013 in that framework. But most refugees and migrants arrive illegally in Libya through Sudan. For those from East Africa, Niger, also for those from West and Central Africa. Algeria also, when they come to Algeria, security is getting very tightened, so they go from Algeria against to Libya. Mixed migratory movements really appear to have significantly increases in 2017. While it is difficult to predict the evaluation on migration flows, consideration that factors into the decision of refugees and migration to make their way to Libya irregularly and stay in the country or leave for Europe can be categorized looking at this, looking at some indicators. As I said earlier, it seems likely that Libya will remain the main transit hub for refugees and migration to reach Europe from Africa for the coming years. But we have seen advocacy and awareness raising for Libya, for the Libyan authorities and citizens, and really the applications of the local governments and city authorities by promoting the development of a migration management framework that it's sensitized to the protection needs of refugees and other vulnerable population, advocate for the discriminalization of irregular migration, advocate also for the development of a functioning asylum system in the country, including early identification of person in needs of international protection, adequate reception facilities, durable solution, and clear allocation of roles of responsibilities of different institutions in charge of migrations in asylum. And I have some friends, and we have our colleagues really that works with us at the African Union, at the Economic, Social, and Cultural Council, and they are very well implemented. So they feed us some good information. So we have the last 2 years, we start seeing very hard work that has been done by special NGOs and city authorities, and now for the last 2 years, governments really are very well implicated to resolve. And we have heard from Ms. Christina really that Libya it's showing a positive way of really respecting the rule of law continentally and internationally. And that will bring us also against, let me give you another example for Djibouti. Djibouti, they come up with the first national strategy and migration target, challenges from the Horn of Africa. Imagine that Djibouti hosts over 150,000 undocumented migrants and a transit hub for thousands of others from the Horn of Africa heading to the Gulf. Djibouti aims to improve their welfare in that of hosting communities through the country's first national strategy for migration, launched with the support of international organization, the IOM also. I mean, they have spent they have really invested heavily in that country by the development of the national strategy. It's a decisive step toward effective migration management in accordance with the commitments made by the Republic of Djibouti during the signing of the Global Compact and migration in 2018. We all know that the Horn of Africa is characterized by the rule of law, that it's a fragile and in the same case absent internal and cross-border conflicts in natural disasters. In 2020, the region hosted 4.2 million refugees and 8.1 million internal displaced persons. And now we start seeing some problems in neighboring country, Ethiopia, and God knows what coming next. Hopefully that things will be as better than it is actually right now. Of course, the strategy will help coordinate between the countries. There is also a plan between between Kenya, I think. Kenya, Ethiopia, they have that country institution and migration laws, and they're working together, joint venture to create a task force, but not really effective since each country have its own problems. This strategy that they have will help coordinate between the country's institution and migration laws, policies, and future legislations, as well as promoting awareness of the rights of migrants and their humanitarian and protection needs. It will also support the National Coordination Office for Migration. Let me conclude my remark. I'm sorry I take a little long time. From my point of view, from my experience, and from over 250 cases investigated for from North Mauritania all the way to Morocco here, and we have we meet we do like over 50 cases each week. The result is the priority concerns for everyone. It's durable solution. I mean, you can come up with all kind of programs, or you can create all kind of fundings. Nothing will work if you don't have durable solution. Reliances and a possibility of integration. That's the most important thing. If the global compact is based on an international human rights laws and uphold the principle of non-regression, of non-discrimination by implementing the global compact, we must ensure the effective respect and the protection of the fulfillment in the fulfillment of human rights of all migrants, regardless of their migration status, across all stages of the migration cycle. We also we have to reaffirm the commitment to eliminate all forms of discrimination, including racism, xenophobia, and intolerance against migration and their families. Everything is about hope. You can inject all the money. International agencies, they can create all funds they want. They can inject all the money they want. But if we don't have the durable solution, it's just like putting water in the sand. I thank you very much, and I'm sorry to take that time.
Not at all, sir. Thank you very much, Mr. Khaled. It was a very fruitful presentation. You tackled a lot of important points, especially the point of data collecting importance and the need for more legislations and the situation of migration management in Libya, Morocco, and Djibouti. And it was such a great presentation. Thank you, Mr. Khaled. But I only have one question for you. Possible, what do you think about the role of NGOs? How can NGOs help implementing GCM, especially in the African Union episode, as you are the chairperson, the vice chairperson for North Africa?
Very pertinent questions indeed. From my point of view, NGOs are the liaison points, and liaison point between government, state governments, government institutions, and international bodies to work on with the aspect of we call it here in Morocco the participatory approach with migrants. But like lately, we have seen that NGOs are, especially with what happened with the pandemic, last 2-3 years has wreaked havoc around the globe and ravages our communities with particular impact for the most vulnerable, including migrants and people on the move. It has severely disrupted everything, even NGOs' activities, and leading to a spike in unemployment. This threatened to undo much of the progress that has been achieved in recent years, with increasing numbers of migrants facing food insecurity and compromised access to a healthcare and care services. But always the NGOs, they have risked their lives. Some of them, and I know some of them, and I work with some of them, just to deliver food, medication, nutrition, and especially in the cold weather here in Morocco and in North Africa in general. They forget exactly what their objective is. The main objective is to serve the right cause and the right purpose. But it's not up to NGOs. NGOs, they can do only that much, but up to policymakers and international bodies really to target the root of this problem. I mean, NGO can do only what they can with the minimum resources they have, to approach, to work with the right approach, humanitarian approach, but laws in politicians and international bodies in tackling the problem from the source. Immigration, as I said, will always remain. But unless and if we have some kind of implicating NGOs and into programs, so they can be the liaison between international bodies or ministerial, departments with migrants. Otherwise, in the pure and simple, NGOs need funding to work with. NGOs need training to work with. NGOs need programs. They need programs to offer to migrants. And nevertheless, migration, it's not NGOs' problem, it's everybody's problem. But without NGOs, these problems could not be solved. Could not be solved 100%. I thank you. I submit. There is a lot of things to be. There is a lot of things to be said, but we have an highest authority, Miss Christina, so we don't want to hammer her that much.
I agree with you. Thank you very much, Khaled, for your
Thank you.
discussion with